Hello, I'm Phil Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and welcome to my vlog, where it's my mission and simultaneous pleasure to highlight my creative journey in hopes of inspiring you, giving you takeaways and things of that nature to help your journey. Now, before I get into it, I would like to take the opportunity to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already. That way you get all the various lessons and episodes that I put out right when I put them out. Thank you if you just did, and appreciate you if you already were. It means a lot to me. So, needless to say, or hopefully needless to say, last week, given the anticipation of the election, there wasn't necessarily too much creative stuff that I was doing. You know, my mind was sort of elsewhere, but I did manage to write. You know, it kind of, my overall kind of, especially Tuesday, you know, after Tuesday, I would spend kind of the evenings really watching the elections and things like that. Then in the mornings, I would kind of check in maybe, but then like the later morning, I would do a lot of writing, and I would also do like my work. And then, you know, by evening it was back to the news and so forth. But so creatively, not necessarily that much got done, but I did, you know, ironically, in some sense, like writing was like my drug of choice at certain moments, especially in that early or that late morning period. And I got a lot of stuff done. I got, as of today, I got to page 52 of the rewrite, which is pretty good. That's 52 minutes written. And, you know, kind of like last time, the beginning was a lot faster in terms of being able to write it out. But then as you go deeper into the script, you got to be a lot more methodical of like, okay, well, am I writing now? I know it works in the scene, but does it work with everything that comes before it? And is it going to work with everything that's supposed to come after it? So you start to, you know, it's this kind of like pressure cooker of writing. And so I'm kind of in that place. And what's interesting to me is just writing in itself, like, you know, even if I put in 4, maybe 6 hours, I can only really write 10, 12 pages at most a day, really. That seems to be my limit in terms of script, because, I mean, quite frankly, that's a lot, you know, of stuff that happens, right? People sometimes have this viewpoint of script writing, oh, well, you know, it's all just what you're going to see. It's kind of like a blueprint, so there's a lot of blank space on the page, so it's easy to write. And it's like, well, no, it's not easy to write, because what ends up on the page, you have to really consider all the things that aren't really said in there, so that way the thing that is said, it's like, wow, right? So, yeah, you know, I was kind of working on that, and I was actually at a good pace. You know, I almost hit this weird rhythm where I knew that the election wasn't going to be called, you know, after day 1, after day 2, and it was like, when are we going to figure this out? And then come Saturday, once we learned the results, basically from there, I just, you know, I couldn't keep my mind, you know, on writing and things like that. And we had actually already planned kind of a get together for my birthday, which is this Tuesday, November 10th. And so it was a small group of us that were always planning to do like a picnic. And so instead we kind of, because it rained in LA too, we decided to switch it up and have it at my place. We watched news, we celebrated, things of that nature, and also just, you know, just enjoyed each other's company as safely as we could. You know, there was only 4 of us in that sense, so not a lot of people, but it was good and to just kind of laugh and whatnot, and felt like the release valve was expressed. So that's kind of where I was when I wasn't, you know, I knew. As I mentioned, kind of my limit, you know, was really 10 to 12 pages a day. And so by the time I would usually reach that point, it's almost kind of like the Hemingway effect, where I maybe could have kept going a little bit more, but like the returns would have been diminishing, and I knew where I was supposed to go, but it was a chore. And so instead, Hemingway has this notion of, well, he'll write and he'll stop when he still can keep going, because then that means when he comes back to it, he can pick up and regain that groove. And so that's kind of where I was. And so I didn't want to like spend, you know, 7 hours writing. Instead, what I did was I did a lot of reading as well. That way I wasn't like just binging the news nonstop. So yeah, it was kind of fun, and honestly, it's mindless reading. I call it grocery store books, like just stuff that you can consume very quickly, that you have to like use a lot of brain function on, just because I needed kind of an outlet, but without like just watching more stuff, right? I just wanted to give my eyes a rest, because if I wasn't looking at the TV, I was looking at my phone, type of thing. So that was good. And then, November 6th, which was Friday, we were also supposed to find out the Make Film results. The Make Film is a competition done by Film Riot, and the point was to submit a concept piece, right? So a short film that is a concept for a much larger film, and it's not necessarily like a trailer. I'm not going to call it that, but it's a, they call it a proof of concept of like, okay, this kind of gives you a window, and it could be a scene from the movie, or it could be kind of like something that can happen before it, almost like what the last flight of the Osiris was, in terms of the animatrix for, leading into Matrix Reloaded. Like the Matrix Reloaded works without Flight of the Osiris, but having that in is kind of like a cool thing, right? So there's a number of ways to approach a proof of concept film, but regardless, we were supposed to submit. We had submitted 2 films actually, and you can kind of hear me talk about that in past episodes of the vlog. And November 6th, we were supposed to find out whether or not we made the top 20, at which point we were going to get notes and kind of feedback to then address those notes and submit, so that way they could pick number 1, number 2, and number 3. Well, sadly, as you might have intonated perhaps, we did not get selected, and neither movie did. And it's kind of sad, but it doesn't, as I was talking with the girls that came up with the concepts, and Danielle, who directed it, this doesn't change anything. It doesn't negate the quality of our films, and they didn't see what we wanted in the movie. I think in studying it, I think the people judging it have their own sort of viewpoint and the things that they want to make, and I think this was outside the realm of what they probably wanted to make, and so they didn't select it. So it just wasn't the right fit. If they, I told them, like, if they don't see the magic in it, then wouldn't want them as partners in this, because the whole kind of point of the competition was also to get them as partners to help, potentially get funding for the movie and, get it greenlit by a studio and so forth. And it's like, if they don't get it, then not interested. We'll find somebody else, because we believe in these films, and we're gonna push them forward, in our own way. And so we're gonna do that. But the sad part kind of really is, the rules kind of made it kind of nudged you in a direction. The way it wasn't split. The rules were very vague, but the way it was presented and marketed was that, hey, go out and make a movie, right? I mean, it's called Make Film. And the people that, just in doing kind of a preliminary research into the top 20, these are people that have already had GoFundMes. They kind of had these movies already made and so forth. And so, meaning pre-COVID. And it was like, okay, well, that doesn't seem like it was in the spirit of what we were trying to make. The two concept pieces that we literally made in like a month, right? And from concept to pre-production to production to post. So, and to do 2 of them and to the level that we did is quite extraordinary. And it's like, okay, what they were going for is people who were apparently further in the game. That wasn't part of the rules, but clearly that's where their head was at when they were judging it. Again, no harm, no foul, moving on. But just kind of want to give you a viewpoint into that, and I'm excited to see what happens with these concept pieces, and life goes on. It has to. But because of that experience too, it was kind of interesting. I've talked about having the people that I worked on those concept pieces. Now we're working on other stuff as well. And what's kind of cool is you just have more people in your corner. And one of the things that happened to me literally today, just an hour or so earlier, was that someone reached out to me and is looking for just someone to do some editing, as like a side hustle for a series for a couple of months, and good pay, and it came from because I did these two things. They got to know me, they saw what I'm capable of, and they were like, oh, they thought enough of me to then recommend me to this other person who's looking for an editor, and I was like, oh, cool. And so, you just never know what good things come when you just enter the arena, so to speak, and just keep moving forward. I wasn't going to talk about this, but there's Seth Godin has a new book out, and it's called The Practice Shipping Creative Work. And I'm going to talk about this book a lot more in an actual episode, but I just want to highlight it because I think it's among like Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art, something like that. For me, the Practice Shipping Creative Work by Seth Godin is like a must read for any creative out there, and just absolutely must read. In fact, he's done an interview with Marie Forleo, and he's done an interview with Tim Ferriss about the book, and so you can check out those podcasts. Search Tim Ferriss and Seth Godin, and then search Marie Forleo and Seth Godin. In fact, I'll just make it easy on you. I'll link to it in the description. But if you just kind of want to skip the book and kind of get the bullet points, but highly, highly recommend it. And the reason I'm talking about this now is because it's very much in that vein of you never know the results that are going to come, right? So make film, we didn't know the results like that we would not be chosen, but all we can do is put our best foot forward. And we're gonna continue with those things. But now, as like a tangential thing happened, something good happened for me, and I in fact try to do the same thing to a lot of people. In fact, today, just a few hours ago, I saw a friend of mine on social media post like, hey, an author is looking for kind of like a publicist, social media branding coach. And I know some people, so I texted them right away and I said, hey, is this something you'd be interested in? If so, let me know and I'll loop you in. Where it goes from there, I don't know. But again, it's just that sort of camaraderie, and it's not to say it's all about who you know, because knowing someone only works insofar as long as you can do the work. Because I think people kind of tend to skip that aspect of it. It's not just about who you know, it's who you know, plus they know your reputation, and they know that you can do the work and that you're good at doing the work. So never let that be lost. That's kind of what my week has been. I'm gonna, I've specifically chosen not to talk about the election, not because I won't, but I didn't want to, I wanted to keep this creative focused, and then towards kind of the end of the week, I'm gonna give a little bit more time and focus my thoughts, and then kind of really try to be intentful with what I say as far as the election, the current state of politics, and where my head's at, what I see things moving forward, and so forth. So, but not a ton of stuff necessarily. Again, most of it, like, I think for all of us in terms of Americans, we were consumed by the election. But the fact that I managed to still get 52 pages done is pretty cool, and my goal is to get it finished by this week, so then I could send it to my co-author, Jason, and he'll do his polish on it, revisions, and that'll essentially be 3 weeks. Like I said, 3 weeks for a new draft, so I'm kind of gonna aim to stick to that. But as always, if there's any questions you have, whether anything that I talked about or didn't talk about, by all means ask away down in the comment section, or hit me up on social media at Svitek. Happy to converse with you. In fact, I love conversing with you. If you think this episode might be of benefit, inspiration to somebody in your life, by all means, please share it with them. I would certainly appreciate it. And I appreciate you, and hope to see you next time.